Yes, people, salam, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well and in good health. Okay, right now we're on a Guardian article about UK inflation, which has risen now more than expected to 3.8%, and that's mainly down to higher food prices and the like. So let's see what's going on here. So UK inflation rose again last month to higher than expected 3.8% amid higher food prices and travel costs, with rail fares probably going up now as well. So this is at fears to the Bank of England will delay further interest rate cuts. So figures are showing that the annual rate, as measured by the Consumer Price Index, climbed from June 3.6% reading, staying above the central bank's 2% target for the 10th consecutive month. The overshot financial market forecast of 3.7% figure for July and makes another reduction in the cost of borrowing this year unlikely, with financial markets not fully pricing in the chance of a fresh quarter point cut until next spring. The data also suggests rail fares, that's train fares, are likely to rise by 5.8% next year, just under 6%. Increases in regulated train ticket prices are usually calculated by adding 1 percentage point to July's inflation reading as measured by the retail price index, which was 4.8%. The Office for National Statistics said a jump in airfares was behind much of the increase in average prices. Tickets on flights out of the UK rose 30% month on month, although much of the increase was because of the earlier timing of summer holiday break. Petrol prices added zero point 0.1 percentage points to inflation after a comparison with last year, when prices at the pumps were falling. Food and non-alcoholic beverages were up 4.9% year on year in July, an increase from 4.5% in the last year or so. To June, beef, orange juice, coffee, and chocolate were amongst the worst hit items. Droughts in Spain, Italy, and Portugal, where the UK sources much of its fresh fruit and veg, have pushed up prices this summer at a time when prices would usually fall. So we've got less rainfall in places like Spain, where the UK brings in a lot of their fruit and veg. So that's adding to the price hikes. The increase in food prices will present the government with a difficult negotiating position as they enter talks with the public sector unions over pay. Ministers are trying to limit annual earnings increase to below 4%, except for resident hospital doctors. However, higher food prices are likely to lead to demands for higher wages from staff. Analysts said that the likelihood of an interest rate cut this year had diminished, but that it was not impossible. The National Institute of Economic and Social Research expect inflation to decline in the second half of the year and fall back to the bank's 2% target by the end of 2026, which is still a while off. It said there was a strong argument for a cut in November after a rise in unemployment and decline in jobs showed the economy weakening, although the decision would depend on the path of inflation over the coming months. The Nizza economist Monica George Michael said, given that several of the current drivers of annual price increases are one-off policy changes, we think that the Bank of England may look basically through them and cut interest rates one more time this year potentially. However, there remains upside risk, especially from food prices and sustained wage pressures, which might force the bank to remain cautious. The bank's Monetary Policy Committee trimmed interest rates to 4% early this month, in line with the projections of falling inflation over the next 2 years. However, several of its members voted to hold interest rates until the trends became more clearer. The UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves said, "We've taken decisions needed to stabilise the public finances, and we're a long way from the double-digit inflation we saw under the previous government, but there's a lot more to do to ease the cost of living crisis. That's why we raised the minimum wage, extended the £3 bus fare cap, expanded free school meals to over 500,000 more children, and are rolling out free breakfast clubs for every child in the country. Through our plan for change, we're going further and faster and putting more money in people's pockets where it should really be." Companies have blamed employment tax rises and uncertainty caused by Donald Trump's trade tariffs war, increasing domestic prices and affecting global economies. The Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride said the increase in employer national insurance contributions had forced companies to increase prices, making Basically, global rise in prices even worse. The energy consultancy Cornwall Insight said on Tuesday it expected the energy price cap covering domestic electricity and gas would go up by £17 by the 1% in October, adding to domestic fuel costs. Sharon Graham, the head of Unite, the UK's largest union, said the government needed to ease the pressure on household budgets after increase in food costs and prices. Once again, the soaring cost of basic essentials like food and water is pushing families to the brink. Workers and the families are struggling to pay excessive bills, pressures mounting for family budgets. Action is required now. Okay, people, so there you have it. So UK inflation has jumped up now, and it's gone to 3.8% alongside higher food prices and the likes. So please do let us know in the comment section below. What do you think about this increase in inflation? Are you feeling the higher costs in your weekly grocery food shop? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Catch you in the next one.